Welcome and thank you for tuning in. You're listening to the Beyond 50 radio program. I'm Daniel Davis. On the program today, talking about traveling. A lot of people love to travel and get that wanderlust up and going and discovering new things and new people and new places from around the world. But wouldn't it be nice if you had the opportunity to have a more meaningful experience where you have a goodwill exchange with hosts and also experience a country's ways of being holistically energized, restored, and balanced for an unforgettable experience? Well, joining us today is Vumagos.com Experiential Timo Semino, who is originally from Italy. He moved to the USA almost 20 years ago, and this is where he got his master's in intercultural relations. He loves traveling and sharing this experience with others to give them a multi-sensory experience. I'd like to welcome to the Beyond 50 radio program today our guest, Timo Semino. And Timo, thank you for joining us here on the program.
Thank you.
Tell
Thanks
us how this all
me.
started for you.
Yeah, well, in essence, the story of my life goes as such, where I was 16, and I started traveling to France because a friend of mine lived there, from southern Italy, of course. And at the time, the European barriers were still up, and you had to check your passports, at every country you entered. And I had a special signature for my parents to allow a 16 years old to travel outside of Italy. That experience of living in France for that summer with my friend completely affected me, and I got the travel bug at 16, and I never stopped since then. I lived in the UK, I lived in Brazil, I lived a couple of times actually in the UK, and then made it to the US where I started studying, and then kind of 18 years later, I'm still here, and I live here, and I became a citizen about 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. So travel has been really the way of life for me because, one, I have to take 2-3 international trips every year, but also my job with a leadership development consulting company led me to also travel abroad.
Mm-hmm. Now tell us about the idea of what's known as sustainable travel. What's that all about?
Yeah, so as I'm traveling all throughout the years, I started really encountering, and this is the way I like to travel, a lot of locals. I speak 6 languages and that allows me really to start conversation very easily with people, and I have the personality of an extrovert, and so I seek always contact with the locals. And as I've been traveling around the world, I've seen a lot of the off-the-beaten path areas of the country, whether that was Indonesia, whether that was even the UK, France, Portugal, or Dominica, Brazil. And I start coming in contact with people that are very simple, that have amazing stories to tell. They never thought in their lives they would meet a traveler such as me from Italy that lives in the U.S., and to them that is incredibly interesting, and so is their life to me. And so the fact I started discovering is that sustainable travel it goes beyond the mere sense of practicing sustainability in every aspect of your life, but actually tapping into a local resource to allow sustainability to happen at a human level, where you're giving a possibility that in some ways is like educational. When you're interacting with somebody that is a farmer with a very little education, you're enriching their lives and they're enriching your life. That, to me, is sustainable. You are also coming in contact with a person that has devoted their entire life to making sure that they're preserving the nature of Dominica, to educate school children and adults to farm in a sustainable way. So to me, that travel is sustainable because I'm tapping into local, I'm tapping into greater purpose of life and not just a random tourist who just wants to lay by the beach and be passive about being in Dominica or being somewhere else in South America, etc.
There was a time where I had some friends who wanted to reel me in to go on a little vacation down in Mexico, and it was interesting when they came back, when they shared what their experience was. Generally what it seemed like is all they did is they go down, they stayed at a hotel, of course, and they sat around the pool and they drank and they ate. And I said, well, that doesn't sound very thrilling. I mean, you can do all that here.
Yes.
I mean, what's the excitement? It's the same thing when people go to places like Tahiti or Puerto Rico or, whatever the case is, where they do exactly what you're suggesting. Sitting by the beach, drinking, eating, and laying around, and I'm thinking you can do that at home. Me, personally, I want to get out there and I want to interact with the culture. I want to go out on little adventures, and things like that. It sounds like that's a lot of what you're talking about here.
Yeah, exactly. And I would say there's nothing wrong with you wanting to just lay by the pool and relax because you worked so hard. That
no. There's a lot wrong with that. You can do that here. Don't cater to those people. We don't want them involved in this conversation.
I think of personality, and sometimes not everybody has the personality to be interacting. But what my encouragement is, and that's where Bumago is trying to shape a different concept of travel, is there's a tourist and then there is a traveler. A tourist perhaps fits that idea of going to, Rome and visiting definitely the Vatican, the Colosseum, and going to Florence and having to go to the Accademia to see the real David, And that's a tourist. A tourist is also the one that goes to a resort in Mexico and stays there and eats and drinks and relaxes that way. But at the same time, you can tap into some local knowledge that gets you to experience the life of the local and interact with them, being participatory, get up the chair and get cooking with a woman that teaches you how to make homemade bread and teaches you the recipes, the family recipes. It kind of makes a little bit of, mixes it up with your need to relax and your need to expand and grow and learn about other cultures. It makes for a much, much richer holiday vacation and travel.
Well, there's no doubt that what you're talking about is very enriching, and I wonder, how did you build the relationships on that side for those opportunities to arise?
Yeah, so going back to, how Bumago came back, I want to blend that in, is that Tyson, who is my business partner, because before becoming my business partner and friend, he was just a person out there who found an ad in Craigslist advertising, and that was me advertising for Italian lessons. So this is the story of Tyson being partly Italian from his mom's side, who wanted to learn with the family Italian and someday visit Italy. So this was about 10 years ago, and they studied with me for 4 years nonstop, and they got to a really good level as a family, be able to understand and speak. And in these 4 years, the friendship grew to a point where I said, you should come and visit Puglia one day when I go there. I go every summer at the end so that I can help my father harvest grapes. You're more than welcome. Sure enough, they did that, and as a family, they visited for about 2.5 weeks. And I brought them into my world just like our locals do. I brought them to the countryside to bake bread and cookies with my mom. And then all of a sudden, an amazing cultural exchange took place where in the middle of the countryside, in kind of a rudimental way, Tyson's mom taught my mom how to make an American-style pie, and she taught her how to make an Italian-style pie, two completely different things. So as I'm watching that, I'm like, wow, what an amazing exchange of cultural knowledge and bonding at the social level with people that then stayed friends, for years to come. Well, fast forward, 6 years later, Tyson takes a trip to Spain with his wife, and while he's there, he's emailing me, telling me, hey, Antimo, I got to talk to you. I'm losing sleep about something. It's really bothering me. I have to talk to you as soon as I come back. And what he had to say was, I had a great time there. I did all the museums we wanted to visit, all the palaces, all the cities. We went to Malaga, all the touristy things, and it was great, but something was missing. And when it hit me, said, was when I thought, what's missing is a local. What's missing is being able to speak the language. What's missing is Antimo that brings me into his family. And so he came and said, do you want to go in business with me and create this company that creates the experiential activity that really allow a traveler to come in touch with the locals, much in the way you did for us when we were in southern Italy? And I was like, oh, my God, duh. I've been doing this for all my friends over the years. I always said, hey, come and visit, and I give them the time of their life. But I did it out of the goodness of my heart. And here I'm changing lives and enriching someone's experience of travel. And I thought, that's a gift. That is a passion. I love to do that. So I'm dropping everything to do just that because I think that's my contribution to why I was brought to this earth, to make people have incredible, unforgettable travel experiences, cultural exchange, experiential activities.
I remember being in Italy myself, and there was an experience that I had with a group of friends as we were over there, and that is that they tended to act like nobody had ever seen an American before. Like there was something special about them, and I could tell by how you're laughing about this that you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well,
as though they're going to the zoo and saying, hey, look, there's a group of Italians herding over there by the cafe, so to speak. But, what I'm getting at is how does somebody, you talk about traveling in a culturally sensitive way. Tell us what that means. I've got an idea about it because that's how I felt about it. It's like, you meatballs, you go ahead and do what you're doing. I'm going to go ahead and go in this direction. Because I kind of wanted to feel like I was blending in so I could grab that experience of, for instance, that town that I was in, to feel like, what would it be like to really live here? Because I wanted to embrace and actually absorb that as a real experience, versus where I came from, for instance.
Yeah. So, the whole idea of how do you travel in a culturally sensitive way comes, of course, from the fact that when you leave your country to go abroad, you're going to embrace different cultures. You're going to embrace their values. You're not simply going to watch, and enjoy the arts and what I call the tip of the iceberg. In essence, you go and see all the tangible things, and you think you're having an experience of what France is like and what Italy is like or Portugal. But nothing will ever get you closer to understand how people really work, think, go about their life, make sense of life until you start interacting with them. The interaction that you have as a tourist is the interaction mostly with the hotel attendant, the restaurant, the museum attendant. That's they are tailoring to you a service that they think in their mind. They know what it is like, your expectation, what do you expect. A local, instead, has none of that, is going to interact with you in the most natural, authentic way. And you, to be able to receive that also in the most authentic way, you should leave. I often use this metaphor. You need to leave your cultural luggage parked at home in the parking structure of the hotel along with your car. Leave your values, park them momentarily. I'm not saying forget your values. Nobody can and should forget their values. It's the fabric of who we are. But when you go abroad, start with a white canvas. Be receptive. Suspend all judgment. Allow yourself to be surprised. Drop all expectations so that every encounter is pleasing to you and not bothersome, because you're not constantly comparing, oh, this is how I do things at home, this is how I expect them to be done here, because you're not at home, you're not in your culture. So that's one of the tips, right, that I say what it takes to have a good cultural experience. Tapping into the local knowledge as you move about into another country is also key. Sure, you can do research, you can go on all kinds of websites, you have all kinds of apps, you can do buy books, and inform yourself, and that's great. You must do that. But then try and really use any local resources that are really more authentic. They know what's going on. A book will say certain things about a certain aspect of the culture that might have changed over time, and the local gives you the real version of what's going on right now. Also, develop that attitude of going with the flow. Allow nothing to upset you. Train delays, flights that you miss a connection. Those things are going to happen. In fact, I did have some clients just this past month who took 30 hours to arrive to Italy because they missed 2 connections. And I'm glad that I was assisting them throughout the process in trying to find a better connection for them. But I was amazed by having coached them at the beginning that they actually kept calm. He said, you know what, this stuff happens. We're not going to taint our trip and then go downhill from here. We'll get there eventually. And so having that idea of being flexible and take anything that happens with a grain of salt and go with the flow is also a good idea. And then when you're going into another culture, I want to premise that probably very few cultures in the world, North America, Canada, and Australia maybe, are the only one who have such an idea of informal culture where we address each other in spite of your job, your place in society by first name. When you start moving outside of these countries, there is a formality to the way people exchange conversation that really changes the game of how you interact with people. And you see it in nonverbal communication as well as the exchange. They call you by your family name instead of, so for instance, if even in Italy, people that don't know me, they don't dare addressing me as Antimo, that would say Signor Cimino. Instead of addressing me using the tu in an informal way, they will address me as lei, meaning there is a formality, until I decide to say, oh, it's okay to drop the formality. You can call me Antimo. Mm-hmm. And so this shows a respect toward the culture, and that kind of respect opens up the door to greater and better conversation from the locals. The ability to speak a little bit of the language is great because the foreigners, wherever you're going, will always like that, the fact that you're trying. And of course, they want to speak the English because it's also their opportunity to practice. But the fact that when we go to another country, we have an accent, we make mistakes, the locals look at that as something cute. It brings the smiles out on their face, and that, again, encourages better communication. Mm-hmm. These are some tips.
That so reminds me of an experience that I had while I was just on the outskirts of Sao Paulo, Brazil. And I found a woman that I was, very entranced with and decided I'd love to go on a date with her. And so, she gave me a card where I could go and meet with her, and it was really fascinating because she actually ran a boutique. Mm. And I was surprised by this. And so not only that, but the boutique was actually attached to her family's house, a beautiful home. Mm. So, imagine the luck of somebody from America running into somebody who was not only beautiful but also lived well. But what was fascinating was the way they go about doing things, at least in this particular experience, was I didn't just go and pick her up and we left. I had to go. I had to stay there. I had to meet with the family. They had to kind of get used to me a little bit, and even though they all spoke Portuguese, not very good English at all. Fortunately enough, she had a friend that came along as an interpreter, which made the whole experience unique, as a three-way. But the thing is I also enjoyed the experience of watching some of the movie Jaws in Portuguese as well, But the fact was, I just didn't go and pick her up, and we didn't just leave.
Right.
I sort of had to get approval that it was okay for me to take her out. And that was really an interesting experience. I'll never forget it, that's for sure.
That leads me to also comment on the fact that that's the difference between an experiential travel done with a local versus a tour operator that operates several types of activities in tours. Because that's what happens. You say, okay, I'm going to do this wine tour with the X company. You sign up, you pay the fee, it tells you some details. Then you go there at the meeting point, and there's 16 other people from all over the world going on the same tour with you. And it's pretty much pick you up, deliver the service, see ya, goodbye. With that, instead, the local will, establish a relationship with you, oftentimes even prior over Skype, so that you get to know each other. And then you have that kind of meet and greet at the beginning. And that meet and greet can very well be at their house or can be at the cafe. And as you are at the cafe, here drops their father, here drops their friend, and all of a sudden they're introducing you. And so the unexpected things that happen are those accents, those additional flares of emotional things going on that another tour does not give you because they are planned. And so that's the difference there. And that's what makes the experience richer, just like you described. You go there, and then you spend 2 hours talking with the family, and they have a bunch of questions for you, and you're building rapport. And they're at the same time, what's going on, though, is actually they're reading, can I trust this person? Who is this person? Wow, interesting, amazing person. Yeah, so they're determining as well that it's a safe relationship to establish.
Now, here's something, and I'll address you just as we would formally in another country, Senor Chimino.
Yeah.
I just wanted to show that I could actually learn the habits that I'm supposed to learn while I'm, somewhere else. But you talk about a wellness retreat in Dominica. What exactly is that?
So part of my passion, there are two very vibrant, maybe three. One is the travel because it's the story of my life. Two is also wellness, which is the story of my life. It started actually at 14 when I started as a dancer. And then languages. Actually all started around the same age. And so wellness for me is a concept that is taking every year a more complex form. It started as a sport because as a young person you really don't have that much complexity to understand what something that you're getting into will be like, even 10, 15 years down the road. So I started as a dancer, and then moving into different countries, I started taking more classes, and I started integrating other forms of movement into my practice. And so today, I'm a certified coach for the body practice, which is a system that blends movement in various forms and takes yoga, martial arts, capoeira into one and creates this beautiful dynamic movement that constitutes, yes, a workout, but it's also taps into your emotional, your not only just the physical, to sustain a workout of that kind or to go into controlling your balance in your core. So for me, wellness, though, has got to a point that has moved each time farther and farther away from the physical, and I integrate more the spiritual aspect and the emotional aspect of what it means to be living a life of wellness and fitness. So when I went to Dominica after I had all of the certifications, including something called the FEBI, Focused Energy Balance Indicator, it's an assessment that measures your neuromuscular energies, and that gives you, you take some questionnaires, and then you will know your preferred energy that you tap into to go about your life, whether you are at work or personal, right? So with all of these tools, I went to Dominica to meet our locals there to develop the destination and the relationships with the local. And I've been in other places like Indonesia that were also incredibly amazing, the nature. But Dominica, which is an island between Martinique and Guadeloupe in the Eastern Caribbean, this is not Dominican Republic. This is Dominica. And the nature there was so vast. The shades of green were probably never seen as many shades of green ever in my life, not even living here in Oregon. And then colors like blue flowers that just could not believe my eyes. But the whole serenity, tranquility of the island and the unspoiled nature completely fit the picture of me being in that place, tapping into my emotional physical energy more, and I felt bigger than life is the word. And I came back, and for about 2 weeks, I kept on sleeping, hearing the wind, the rain on the foliage. It was just transforming for me. And so now I have designed a wellness retreat that takes the CB, that tool, and really becomes the framework of a wellness retreat. And we travel in the island in about 3 areas. And while we travel, I also blend in that contact with the local, that intercultural exchange. So this wellness retreat is not the one where you go to a resort and spend a week there getting your massages, getting your yoga classes, your Pilates, all of that, which is fantastic. It's also fantastic.
Right.
But this is almost a blend of a vacation and a wellness retreat that transforms your life and affects it in beautiful, positive ways all over, giving you that sense of restoration, rejuvenation, and balance. Because you're meeting with nutritionists, experts on the island. We will be meeting with a bush doctor in the jungle who will teach you everything about herbal medicine by really using herbs from the source, right? We will go in from another nutritionist and learn all about raw foods. We'll do hikes almost every day in unspoiled, amazing territory. And, of course, we'll do our meditation every day because I think it's critical, not only normally in life, but when you go on vacation, to tap into that idea of let go all of expectation. It's a fantastic way to start 10 minutes in the day, 10, 15 minutes on a nice meditative state to promise yourself that everything will be wonderful today, that you open up yourself to receiving everything that you will encounter with no judgment. And then we'll do some yoga to just allow ourselves to be nimble and flexible to go on a hike. And, what's not to love about this kind of opportunity that is a wellness retreat and a vacation together? You come back and you finally feel rejuvenated. Sometimes we go on vacations where we come back and we need another vacation to recover.
Isn't that the truth? It almost feels like the vacation was work.
Yes.
I really enjoy what you're saying here, especially for our listeners, is the fact that, a lot of times we do go on vacations as though we have this itinerary that we absolutely have to finish. We've got to get to this place and then go and do that place so that we can go back and say perhaps to our friends, well, I was able to do all this.
Right.
But there wasn't really a sense of fulfillment or satisfaction behind the fact that you did achieve these goals on your vacation. And the other thing, too, that is really coming out about this whole thing, and Boomago.com is certainly affecting the travel industry when you think about what it is you're talking about, how you slow life down. You really begin to smell the flowers and enjoy the sound of the bees and touch the flowers and the greenery as you're talking about, and really get the essence of, for instance, as you were saying, the bush doctor coming out and saying, well, this is where this herb naturally occurs, here perhaps in the jungle or on the beach. And, we live in a day and an age where, and I'm hearing this more and more from people, is they feel that time is so accelerated. It was like Christmas. Wasn't that just yesterday?
Yeah.
And I had this theory, and it's just a theory that I have, but with the, advantages that we have with cell phones and computers and so forth, where we can take our finger and at the push of a button almost feel this sense of consistent, immediate gratification.
Right.
We don't have to wait for anything anymore.
Right.
Where something like this, what you present with Vumago.com, is the opportunity to travel and do the very thing that I think we really should start doing more of, and that is slowing things down a little bit.
I believe that because of what you just described, our almost addiction to social media, to feeling that if we are not on Facebook, we don't have a life. If we're not constantly tweeting, Instagramming, and all of that, we don't have a sense of who we are. We don't have recognition. This kind of what's happening right now with all of that, it is more, it is a higher requirement that you actually intentionally take the time to say, you know what, I'm going to stop, I'm going to unplug, I'm going to disconnect. While we feel that energy of doing all of that, making us feel perhaps alive, liked, the selfie, this, all of that, it's the stress that it's hitting up at us. It's actually an underlying monster within all of this that makes us really needing to push the reset button at some point because it's not sustainable. And so I think there's definitely a time and a place to say, you know what, I'm going to go on one of these vacations, on one of these trips where my life, my mind perhaps is engaged differently, where I have to be intentional about maybe either leaving the cell phone at home or not picking it up. In fact, during the wellness retreat, one of the things that we say, and the reason why we also chose Dominica, is once you leave the main cities or the town, kiss goodbye to your internet. Your phone is no more than a brick or a camera. That's it. And so it kind of forces you to be disconnected. Then when you go back to your hotel or the place you're staying, if they have Wi-Fi, it's okay to, if you want to tell your loved ones, hey, I had a fantastic day today. We meditated underneath a waterfall. We watched birds and beautiful flowers, and here are some pictures. I think there's much greater value to that than being constantly connected, thinking that your life is amazing because, look at me, what I'm doing. Look at my selfie, and constantly being bombarded by these stimuli that are not natural.
Mm-hmm. Fascinating stuff. Tell us a little bit about Vumago, and that's the letter V as in victory, Vumago.com. What exactly? Tell us about that website.
Yeah, so Vumago, as you would say, V as in victory, O, M as in Mary, A, G as in George, O.com. So again, it came because Tyson proposed me to create this experiential travel, and because I studied with a bunch of international students, and I am connected throughout the world, truly with probably less than 3 or 4 degrees of separation, and that actually leads me to tell you that Vumago is unique as a travel company because not only we do experiential travel and we, in essence, connect the traveler with a local to do authentic experiential things, but our locals are not just anybody that comes to us and say, hey, I want to be a tour guide for you. No. First of all, we don't even use the term tour guide. For us, a local is just any person with any kind of job, any age, obviously. Can be a retired person, can be a student, and that have the love for their culture, for their town, have a personality that really loves to tell stories. And they are people within 3 degrees of separation from me or my founding partner, Tyson Smith. We have made it a point because I want for people to feel like they're going to see almost a friend, and they will be treated like a friend. And knowing that that might be my sister or my sister's best friend or my mom's neighbor who is a fantastic cook and has a countryside home, and she loves to cook and show you how. Those are the kind of relationships that and the trust level that we have set up the company with, so that it differentiates us from those who are trying to do something similar, but they really don't know these people. Our service is definitely one that it's very replicable in terms of consistency and how well the delivery of that service is, and also and especially authentic. We don't try to plan things to the point where like they're almost scripted, because they then start feeling artificial. So,
well,
yeah.
I certainly don't want that experience, as I haven't had that yet, which is good. But the fact is, I kind of enjoy the idea when you say about matching you up with a local, that, there's a possibility that you could get lost.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is, I like to listen to the needs of our clients very, very closely, because it is the key and it's the differentiator between simply saying, hey, here is a tour, book it, you're going to have a fantastic time, rather than sitting with them and say, okay, tell me what you absolutely must get out of that trip to that country. Tell me what you love. Tell me what you are afraid of. What's your biggest concern going to this country? What dietary restrictions do you have? Other concerns, because I want to be able to then pass this information to our local. And I'll give you an example. Last September, we had a couple of clients who had actually scheduled most of their vacation with a travel agency. And then our clients told them, hey, you should check Antimo. You should talk to Antimo Rumago. And they came to us and said, oh, my God, this sounds really amazing. I wonder how much we can cancel and go with you. So we met 2-3 times with his wife, and knowing exactly, like I told you, the questions that I was asking. And then we organized about 5-6 activities with them. And as I told you, I did say to all my locals, okay, guys, Crystal can't have coffee. Crystal is highly allergic to this. Crystal needs that. I knew all the things that matter to Crystal, and I made sure that everybody knew. And every single time that an experience was over, Crystal would send me an email and said, oh, my God, how did you do this? How did people know that I was allergic to coffee? How did, And I even actually gave her a little bit of a page written up in Italian on how to guide her if she was going to a restaurant, to tell her, non posso mangiare il pane, non posso mangiare il caffè. All of these things that would be helpful to say in Italian rather than in English, in case she didn't speak English. And that was a threat to her life, to be, digesting caffeine or something like that. So those are the things that we do. We listen because we want to make your time special. We want to make it really fit into your lifestyle and exceed your expectation if we can. And that is consistently happening right now.
So now for our listeners, just so we can sort of recap here, how would you best describe the mission of Boomago.com? What is it specifically that you like to do?
What we like to do is really sit with clients, talk to them if they're wanting to go to one of our destinations, because it's not just Italy. We're in different countries, from France to Spain, Portugal, Brazil, Argentina, Dominica, etc. To create experiences. We already have a menu of experiences, but any of those can be customized to the needs that you have. And attend to that curiosity for getting to be in touch with the culture, with the locals, being experiential, being participatory, not a passive, just a passive vacation. And we really take pride to creating sensorial, multisensory experiences where you're engaged in all ways, with your smell, with sense of smell, with your taste, with everything, and especially. So we take pride to the fact that when you come back from some of our vacations and itineraries and experiences, you come back not only thinking, oh, wow, the Vatican was amazing, but you actually, what stands out for you is the conversation you had around the dinner table in the countryside with this 70 years old woman who showed you how to make bread and invited their friends over, and each one brought, and they left you with a bottle of their own olive oil for just out of the goodness of their heart. These are the things that we'd like our clients to come back and think about, along with, the arts and the history that they were exposed to.
Well, that sounds very exciting. It certainly beats sitting around the pool with a cocktail and an umbrella waiting for your dinner to show up at the poolside, that's for sure. Vumago.com is the name of the website. That's a V like in victory, where you can find out more about how you can submerge yourself in wonderful cultures around the world, or at least the ones that they present for the time being, and enjoy a real vacation where you get to find time slowing down, and I think we could all really use that. Antimo, thank you so much for joining us on the Beyond 50 radio program.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for the invitation. I want to invite any listener to also look for us on Facebook. You can follow us. I'll be about to, in a week, to travel with clients to Argentina and Brazil. So you can follow my travel stories there. I also blog. There's lots of blogs that are very, very educational on travel in general on our website. I'm also on Instagram and Twitter. So yeah, go on Facebook and make sure you like us, and if you have any questions about future plans, the next month you're going somewhere, contact me. I'll be happy to talk to you.
Very good. Antimo, thank you so much for joining us here on the program today.
Thanks again. Thank you, guys.
So there you go, listeners out there. You have the opportunity not to just take a common vacation, but something where you can actually absorb what's around you, so that you kind of get a different view when you come back home and not feel so exhausted as though your vacation was work. You can also take a little vacation by joining us at Beyond50Radio.com, finding out more about what we're up to, and also sign up for our exclusive e-news updates. That's at Beyond50Radio.com, the number 50. But even if you type in the other one, I'm sure you'll find us as well. I'm Daniel Davis. Thank you for tuning in. This is the Beyond 50 radio program, and remember, live your day past halfway.